Hey guys, Thrasher here. Today we're talking about the Master of Dimensional Evasion, Janemba. Let's talk about it right now. Okay, so as you can see, I have the character maxed out. He has 398. I did a few PvP matches. You can watch those on the right as I talk about the character. As you'll notice, the team that he's on is a little bit unorthodox, and we'll talk about that as we get into the teams that he fits on later on in this discussion. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is that it states Janemba as a defense unit. He's actually what I like to call a counter unit. His job is not to lead out and immediately be super aggressive. He wants to wait for the opponent to do something and then respond to what they're doing with the necessary counter force, if you will. First thing we want to do is look at show details, and let's just talk about his stats real fast. He has the best stat spread in the game right now. He doesn't pump out the kind of damage that Gogeta does, but that's just because Gogeta has lots of extra buffs on top of his stats. Overall stat wise, he is an absolute monster. He has the 3rd best HP, the 5th best strike defense, and the 5th best blast defense. So he's a super tanky unit, and beyond that, he can pump out a fair amount of damage too. He's top 15 in strike and top 12 in blast, so he doesn't have super weak offensive stats to try and counterbalance how extremely tanky he is, which is awesome. One more thing I want to look at are the 2 cards that he brings to battle. He brings a strike and a blast, which in my opinion is probably not the best because we are still in a strike meta. A lot of his abilities that do help in some way to give him extra damage are more strike biased than anything else, so 2 strike cards would be awesome, but I'm not going to hold this against him too heavily. Let's go and look at his abilities and see why I see him as a counter unit rather than a tank unit, because he's not really a tank. Here's the big thing. His main ability has a draw special arts card, which we'll look at the special arts card in a minute. That's what really makes him the counter unit. And then plus 15 to strike arts cost to all enemies for 10 timer counts. So that really slows down their attack, and it's very powerful in this strike-based meta. The next big thing is the ability, regeneration-based strike defense. At 5 stars, this changes from regeneration-based strike defense to regeneration-based strike and blast defense. So it does get more powerful at 5 stars. Very helpful for all of the regeneration-based units to be tankier. Next thing to look at is the nullify attribute downgrade. It nullifies own attribute downgrades for 10 timer counts every time this character enters the battlefield. So if they do something to Janemba to make him weaker in some way, all you really have to do is switch to a different character, switch back into Janemba, and they'll get rid of those attribute downgrades. So that's very powerful. And then inflicted damage up 20% to damage inflicted for each downed opponent when this character enters the battlefield. So as the battle goes on, if Janemba's still alive and you've defeated a few of your opponent's characters, he's going to get stronger and stronger. Now let's go look at the arts real quick. Now here's the big thing. When we go over to arts, he's got his strike, standard strike, he's got his blast, standard blast. One thing I should mention about the strike is slice-based damage. So most strike and blast attacks are impact-based, which is sort of your standard damage. I do have a video where it talks about slice, explode, impact, all the different types. So if you want to check that out, I'll link it in the description. The next thing we should look at here is this card right here. His special move. Deals major explode damage, restores vanishing gauge by 50% on hit. 2 major things here. One, the vanishing gauge restoration is amazing. Because of the sidestep nerfs, this is a very, very powerful addition to his ability. And the other thing is, this is only for mid and close range. So what you need to do in order to get this ability off is you can use it right after a vanishing step if you want to. It will hit them. Or if you want to chain it after abilities, what you need to do is click your first arts card, then click this arts card before your first arts card goes off, and then after your first arts card goes off, swipe up, he will dash forward to mid-range and then use this ability, if you want to get this ability off in a combo. Okay, and here's the big one. He has a counter. This green card right here, which you can also pull from his main ability, is an amazing card. In my opinion, it is infinitely better than Gogeta's counter, and that's because Gogeta's counter actually pushes the opponent back and you can't start a combo with it. This one gives a 20% bonus to strike damage, and you can start a combo out of it. So what it's going to do is if someone shoots a blast at you, it can be a blast arts card or it can be a key blast. Either one, it will take the blast and it will put it behind your opponent to push them forward towards you, and you can begin a combo. So what I would do is while the animation is playing, immediately press your next arts card and it will begin the combo. You can combo as normal. This does not work against special moves. So if someone tries to do a Kamehameha or something like that, it won't work. I have tried it. You'll see that in the video to the right. Also, if for whatever reason you're a little low on ki, make sure you are prioritizing your strike arts cards after you hit them with this counter, because it does increase the strike damage. So make sure you're doing that. Also, as you can see from the combat footage on the right, Janemba has his own sidestepping animation that's different from everyone else's. He actually is sort of like moving in and out of dimensions, which is cool. Another great thing about it is a lot of people are not used to that animation. I think the timing is actually the same, but because a lot of people don't really go based off specific timing, they sort of go based off the way they see animations working, it's very easy to bait people into thinking that you are going to vanishing step something when you're not, and that can set up a lot of really cool combinations that aren't really possible with other characters because they all have just sort of the standard slide to the right, slide to the left animation. I do think that will eventually fade away as people get more and more used to that animation from Janemba, but for right now it's something that for lack of a better word, I would exploit if you have that ability. Now, with that being said, where does he sit in the meta? He is absolutely a top tier unit. He sits firmly in the regeneration team. He's sort of the missing piece that the regeneration team needed to work. Now, as far as what teams he goes on, obviously regeneration. The problem outside of that is there's not a lot of flexibility outside of the regeneration team. There's like 3 other characters that you could possibly use for that team. If you don't have those characters, which I don't, then you have to sort of make up your own sort of hodgepodge team, which you can see on the right here. I've got Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Android 16, and then Janemba. And essentially what I did there is I created sort of a mono purple team, but then I've got 16 to use as a tank, so that way I don't get absolutely run over by yellow units. But as you can see in the combat there, anytime I run into Demon King Piccolo, he tears me up, so I've got to use 16 as much as I can. So if you don't have a lot of regeneration units, Janemba's not going to be super powerful for you right now. With that being said, even on his own, he's a very powerful unit, and he's even going to get stronger once the Ultra Spacetime banner comes out here, I believe in a couple days, and we get Majin Buu. Outside of the fact that he doesn't have a lot of options outside of the regeneration team, there is one more major issue right now, and that's simply that he doesn't have a lot of options for equipment. So there's only 2 or 3 equipment items that he can really use in the game right now that are actually good, but I'm hoping that in the very near future here, there's going to be a lot more that will be viable for him, and that will make him even a better unit. And because of the way his kit works and the fact that Vanishing Gauge itself is being so prioritized now because you can't easily get your Vanishing Gauge back, I think this can be a very powerful character for a very long time, at least for the next few months. So if you don't have him, he's definitely worth getting. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys think I missed anything, make sure to throw it down below and we'll talk about it. And if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.